We're 2 weeks away from the chassis reveal for the 2026 Poor Boys RC Speedrun Challenge, and I'm here to show you what it is with my 100% unofficial guide. Now apparently, Phil has already made his mind up about what chassis it is, but if he watches this he'll change that mind. So Phil, I'm really sorry buddy, you're going to have to go away and wait until the 1st of June before you can watch this video. We're not going anywhere until you've left. Thank you very much. So I've got here a list of all of the cars that I've heard, whether they be silly, whether they be serious. Everything I've heard I've got in a ranking, and I'm going to score them in this tier list according to how much I believe they're going to be genuine candidates over 3 main criteria: cost, availability of the vehicle and parts, and then iconicness. I've ranked everything here in terms of a top tier. This is where the winners are going to come from. Outside chance, where I guess Phil could draw from if he didn't really believe in my top tier choices. For long shots, things that I really don't think are going to be there. Superbly silly cars that, yeah, they might be interesting, but they're going to be a lot of work, and I think would be. And then done and dusted cars that really just can't enter, and one remaining category for Colombo that we'll come to at the end. My list is made up purely of Tamiya cars. I think it's really hard to meet the cost, availability and iconicness for anything else. Let's get some easy ones out of the way. We've got the Lunchbox, the CW01 from 1987. Now this was originally the Poor Boys RC car for the 2022 challenge. Could we revisit it? Yes. Will it be this year? I don't know. I think there's plenty to choose before we get that far. And the same is true for the next ones here. We've got the TT02. That came out in 2013 and was the 2023 Poor Boys Speedrun Challenge car. The Jimny here is an MF01X. That was the 2024 Poor Boys RC Speedrun car. And as I say, last year we had the Tamiya Grasshopper. Now, any and all of those would be great to run, but it's too soon to see them again. One of the biggest names I've heard mentioned from many people. I'll drop names where I can, but this has been mentioned by so many people. The DTO4, we know Phil has built one on the channel. We know it's good. We know its heritage of the DTO2, DTO3s is right up there, and I'm really counting this for any of those DTO2, 03, 04 cars. We know they're capable. We know they're easy to get hold of parts, and have been for many years. It's not quite as iconic as we'd want. The oldest one there, the DTO2, was from 2013. So maybe it scores down a little bit on that, but I think that could be an easy shoe-in candidate. Next up is the Group C chassis. This is a Nissan 300ZX from 91, and of course Phil's just built up his 787B. I wouldn't have considered it, except when I saw when Phil had built his up and was running it around the sports court. It looked really good, like that's a future contender for a speedrun challenge car. It might be perhaps a bit easy to go quickly. I think the real downer for me was in the video where he ran it. Phil commented it might be a speedrun car, but he didn't seem to be enthusiastic enough about it being this year's speedrun car. Maybe he's misleading us, but I think I've got to pop it there in an outside chance. And I've heard mention this one here. This is a Fox 1985, also re-released as the Nova Fox. I know there's a lot of people who love this car. I think realistically, it is a reasonable price. It is available. The downside for me is, again, is a 2-wheel drive buggy. It's odd that I can claim that DTO4 is right up there in top tier. I think, unfortunately for me, the Fox is down here in long shot. Please let me know in the comments if you disagree with me and you'd rather see that somewhere higher up the list. Then I've got the GF02, the Quirk Hopper. Now this car was one that I was going to pretty much ignore. Its sister car is a squash van, and I think that was one that we haven't had a off-roader or a true off-roader big wheel for many years, and I think Phil probably would have liked to have the squash van be the car for this year, except it being discontinued. Now the real question with the Quirk Hopper is it readily available right now or by the beginning of June for people to be able to do? And are people really going to swallow the cost of the bearings? So they probably cope with the bearings. But I think it's going to struggle in terms of availability. I think I'm going to pop it there an outside chance. A fun one. Here is the T301 Dancing Rider of 2017. Now I know there are at least two people who really want to see this bike trike being used. Rob Mitchell, Nick Tiney. I know Nick Tiney is currently running and trying to get one to run at 50 mile an hour. That just seems crazy. There's plenty of work needed to make that happen. So good on you, Nick. I hope you all the best for how you get on with that. But I really have to pop it down here in Superbly Silly. I don't know that I heard this next one, but I'll talk about it anyway. This is the Mitsubishi Pajero. It's actually a 1993 car, but it's a CC01, and it's here to represent CC01, CC02s, mostly in the sense of, well, that would just be a bit odd to run, wouldn't it? Would it not? Is it as silly as a trike? Probably not as silly as a trike. I'm going to pop it in long shot, mostly because, well, Phil might trip us up and give us something, an oddball out there, and then something. I don't know how many people had been musing about this one. I think maybe it's just myself and Tonic RC. Wouldn't it be amazing for everyone to run Avantes, or I guess Vanquishes and Egresses or whatever, to well beyond their capability? Let's not do that. I couldn't afford to do it. Just no. And let's move on to this one. Now, this is one of my personal favourites. This is the Supra here. It's on the BTO1 chassis, and this is really to represent both, because there's a BTO1 and there's also the MBO1, and they're different chassis. The MBO1 is an M chassis, but I consider them to be very closely related. So for that reason, I'm putting them in the same bucket. It definitely meets cost and availability. It's not iconic, and it's going to have to be an awful lot of work for shimming them, etc., to get the max out of them. But I think that kind of work might be the kind of thing that Phil is up for. So I think, well, I'm going to bump it up because there's one good reason. I'm going to bump it right up here. And the reason I'm bumping up there is because I personally want it to be there, because I personally want to do silly things with that car. Now, if it's not part of the speedrun challenge, I guess I'm going to have to buy one or two of them to do the silly things I want to do. But I'm putting it right up there in top tier. Ahead of me thinking about arranging this, that's the car I most wanted to happen. And then I've got something that you'd think, well, that is a silly thing to do, isn't it? This is the XR311. Now, this buggy truck was originally released in 1977. As its model number is 58004 and has been forever, as in this thing literally is as was released as far as I can make out. Now, it's not that cheap, but it's not as expensive as you might expect. Bizarrely, it's still available. It's still in Tamiya's catalogues all this time. I don't know that it's necessarily ever gone out of production. So parts are available. It's available. It obviously belongs here in Superbly Silly. But I just wonder, could this be the kind of thing that Phil says, well, if now, when, because maybe this will actually end up out of production somewhere along the way. I'm actually going to put it here in outside chance. I think that might be a stretch for it. Maybe not. Maybe let's just go for long shot and say. I think it would be hilarious to see everybody try and get the most out of those. I guess open class would end up being somewhat more full because of the things that you'd want to be able to do to it. I think that would make a really silly speedrun challenge car. So it's definitely on my list, and there are sillier choices. And so here is a TTO1. Actually, the more fun thing, and I think people had mentioned it, would be to say, well, we'd run TTO1s. I mean, we've done TTO2 before now, so it's like, how different is it? It's not that different. Well, what if the rule was you had to run a truck body shell, truck tyres, or something like that, and force people to be tied into at least running them as trucks? Does that change the dynamic slightly? And I think it probably does. And I think it probably does enough that I'd probably put it up here in an outside chance. It's cheap as chips. It's definitely available, and it's up there. There's an awful lot of TTO1s. This is a TTO1E, I should say, for the year. There's an awful lot of TTO1s, but actually, if you look at trucks and things, well, maybe there's something neat to have there. One I know Mad B had brought up, and some others have mentioned about several times. The ORV chassis. So I've got here the Subaru Black Brat. The Frog is also there, as is a Lancia rally car. I'm also using this to represent the, I guess the Orv-derived ones, things that are the Blackfoot chassis, so the Blackfoot, the Monster Beetle, those. I've put it up there as an outside chance. I think actually realistically I consider it to be a long shot. So apologies to those people who really love the ORV chassis. Up until recently, there were serious concerns about that gearbox being able to survive, and I know there are things that some people can do. I don't think it wants to get down to being a game of who can get hold of a MIP diff, but I do know they are back in production. Someone said to me the other day they are back in production, so maybe that's an outside chance. I think realistically there's too much risk with it, so I've left it here in long shot. I think it's somewhere between these two. Maybe I need a whole category for ORV. Maybe that's where people would get back to enjoying it. I've only got 2 more to go. So I've got here the Manta Ray, the DFO1. So that would include things like Top Force Evos. I do know there are some other ones. Is the Dirt Thrasher a DFO1? Probably. Cheap, definitely available, definitely iconic. The Manta Ray I know was right up there for a number of people. Is it top tier? It is at least a 4-wheel drive buggy. I've said about some of the others. I guess it's at least got to be up there amongst the thing like the Thundershot here. So maybe that's about the right kind of thing. Oh, look what I could do. Look, I could appease all of those ORV people and move the Mud Blaster up there. How's that? So it'll be the first car in the long shot. And then I've got one more picture here to represent 2 cars. It would be possible to do the Honda City Turbo. Sure, there's a few people have got them, but it's a WRO2 chassis, so it's a wheelie machine kind of chassis. It's a hard body shell. They would get beaten up like you wouldn't believe, and I think people would be not wanting to run these and wreck them quite that way. So I've put it down here in Superbly Silly. I think because it's so iconic, people wouldn't want to run it. And when I say it's representing multiple vehicles here, I also include that the Porsche 50th anniversary, something like that, where like the value to people, more than just financial value to people, is such that they don't want to risk running those cars. And I guess the same perhaps is true of the Avante, although that has a real financial cost to it as well. Fine. So there you go. That is my 100% unofficial guide to what the lead chassis is going to be. In top tier, we've got the BTO1, MBO1, and the DTO4. How do I choose? Well, bear in mind here, there's one category I haven't gone there, and that category is Colombo down at the bottom there. So, just one more thing is this extra car of the Hotshot. It got mentioned to me. Well, Nathan Wilson, I know, watches my videos, and a few others in the forums. The Hotshot. Phil loves a Hotshot. Phil really loves a Hotshot. We're in the land of the 4-wheel drive buggies again, the same as the Dragons, the same as the Manta Ray. I'm putting it here in top tier, and I'm putting it right here in top tier. I have a feeling when you look at everything to do with cost, availability of cars and the parts, and iconicness. So this one is down somewhat in terms of cost. It's quite a high cost kit compared to the other things I've got in the top tier. But overall, on balance, that is where I think Phil is going to go with the 2026 Poor Boys RC. So tell me what I've missed. What thing have you mentioned in the Facebook group that I haven't added to my list? Come on here and go to TierMaker. This is available on TierMaker. I'll make sure that the link is in the description. Add your cars, make your own list, show me how I'm wrong, and reorder it. Put your ORV at the very top of the list. Let me know in the comments about what things I've missed, where you would score things differently. And I guess one last thing, Phil, was I right?